Alright, why do I look completely different from only 2 weeks ago? Mind your business. Bad movies come in 3 flavours. First, outright rubbish, not enjoyable on any level. The story is bad, the characters are bad, the dialogue is bad. There is nothing of any merit to it, and you will find yourself turning it off or wishing you could. As a mainstream Marvel example, Thor: Love and Thunder. The second flavour? So bad it's good. Movies you know are not of a high quality, but are enjoyable in that fact. Maybe the visual effects are hilariously awful, or the action is all over the place. They're fun to watch on your own or with a bunch of mates, and have a pretty good time seeing how bad things can get. As a mainstream Marvel example, Madam Web. And then there is the third flavour, guilty pleasures. Movies you know are not good, movies the masses have deemed not good, and might even fall into the first flavour mentioned here for other people, but you love them nonetheless. As a mainstream Marvel example, from my point of view, Punisher: Warzone. Not that that's really a mainstream Marvel example. Predator 2 is sitting on a meager 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 46 out of 100 on Metacritic. It was called an unbeatable contender for the most mindless, mean-spirited action film of the holiday season when it first came out, and Roger Ebert even went so far as to accuse the film of being subliminally racist, and spoiler, he might have a point there, so this might sound quite contrarian and a little problematic given that last thing I just said, but I love Predator 2. Now, these two things together, the poor reviews and the fact that I like the movie, would imply that it is a guilty pleasure. It is not. I am here to argue that Predator 2 is not a guilty pleasure of mine. The majority of the reviews were wrong, and it is an actually good movie. Everyone knows the premise of Predator 1. At least I hope you do. A group of badass mercenaries traverse the jungle and get picked off one by a physically and technologically superior alien, until a final climactic battle where the main character, using intelligence and cunning, overcomes the alien and wins. A great premise, easy to follow, original at the time. A perfect setup for some amazing set pieces and sci-fi shenanigans. There is a reason it was a hit and is held up as one of the best sci-fi action horror movies of all time. Predator 2's premise is not quite as simple, but that doesn't make it worse. You could sum it up as Predator in the concrete jungle of Los Angeles as opposed to the actual jungle of Central America, but that's just surface level. Because in its change of setting, there is a change of genre too. It's still sci-fi action with horror aspects, but now it's noir as well. As I said, it's set in LA, the spiritual home of noir, and instead of a cast of characters simply going from point A to point B, we've got a cast of characters trying to figure out who's killing people on both sides of a gang war. They are police officers and detectives following clues, trying to solve the mystery of a series of brutal, impossible murders. Tell me that isn't noir. You can't. Man, I can't hear you. So that's a more accurate summary of the premise of Predator 2. It's not just Predator 1 in a city. It's more complicated, it's got more moving parts, and it shifts genre. But is this change in premise a good thing? Is this what makes Predator 2 a good movie and not just a guilty pleasure? Yes. It's not just the movie being a noir that makes it good, and we'll be getting to all that other stuff too, but it does help set a strong foundation. Noir was not an oversaturated genre in 1990 when the movie came out as it was like back in the 40s, and it certainly isn't an oversaturated genre now in 2025. Different is good. A change of pace is good. In fact, a movie of this combination of genres is so unique that it sort of puts it on a front foot before it even starts, and when it does, the good just keeps on coming. The cast: Danny flippin' Glover, Bill flippin' Paxton, Buttered Sausage himself, Gary flippin' Busey. Danny Glover is a criminally underrated action hero. This might sound like a backhanded compliment, and I really don't mean it to be one. It is just an outright compliment. He should have been in the Expendables. For me, he's maybe not on the same level as an Arnie or a Sly in terms of action heroes, but he's not far off. He's up there with Jason Statham, I'd say. What's cool about his character here in Predator 2 is it's sort of a flip of his most famous character, Murtaugh from the Lethal Weapon movies. There, Mel Gibson's character Riggs was the loose cannon. But here in Predator 2, Danny Glover's character, Mike Harrigan, is the maverick cop, taking situations by the scruff of the neck, going off script and making the lives of his police chiefs miserable with his renegade antics. Speaking of Lethal Weapon though, Gary Busey's in that with Danny Glover, like he's in Predator 2 with Danny Glover. Coincidence? Yes. Here he's so great as this douche FBI guy. But there's a pretty cool twist wherein he knows exactly what is going on with the Predator. There is continuity. This is an actual sequel of the first movie, and they use information gathered by the characters from Predator 1 to understand what's happening in LA here in Predator 2. That might sound like low praise, a sequel building off the movie that came before it. But considering the absolute mess of continuity that is the Predator franchise, this is actually saying something. Gary Busey here is so great and such an important character to that aforementioned Predator franchise, apparently, that they got Gary Busey's real son to play his character's son in the 2018 Predator movie. That movie sucks though, don't watch it. Bill Paxton, RIP, fulfills the prophecy here, being the first actor to be killed by an alien, a Terminator, and a Predator. And what is there left to say about Bill Paxton? He is an absolute joy in everything he's in. And this is no exception, being this brash, loudmouth, hotshot cop who asked to be transferred to the war zone of LA. He seems like a total knobhead, only concerned about like glory and reputation, but he's actually quite selfless and courageous. The soundtrack is awesome. Alan Silvestri, who did the soundtrack for the first movie and like a gajillion other great movies, including Stuart Little, returns to do the soundtrack here. It's still got that jungle vibe from the first one, but because it's in a city now, it's sort of weirdly incongruous and it makes it kind of unsettling. The effects, considering the time period this came out in, are kind of brilliant. The Predator's thermal vision is on point, and its invisibility, the legendary telltale shimmer, is as good here as it has been in any other Predator movie. Except the bit where a bunch of other Predators show up at the end. That's not so good. There are some huge explosions and some brilliant blood squib work. I miss blood squibs. The tone. The movie is set in the middle of this like heat wave in LA. And I'm not sure I've experienced heat this tangible from a movie before. Every single character is sweating their nuts off in every single scene. There's heat haze coming off every single surface, and the sun looks like it's about to go supernova at any moment. Now, this might seem like just like a decent bit of set dressing or scene setting, but it also highlights perfectly the movie's tone of like hot, bubbling tension. Things are literally at their boiling point in the city, and what you don't need at a time like that is a giant alien showing up, making everything worse. It's great. It makes everything feel so intentionally uncomfortable. But it's funny too. I don't think you could have a movie as sort of absurd as this without having a vein of comedy running through it. Bill Paxton's character tells literal jokes, but it never undercuts the tension or the drama or the suspense, as quips tend to do in movies these days. It is appropriate. Okay, so I've gushed about this for long enough, but I'm not totally blind. I know this is not a perfect movie, so let's look at the other side of the coin. Elephant in the room. Racism. While I am not all the way white, I am also not black. I am ignorant on this, and as such, I've never had to reckon with the possible racist undertones of the Predator franchise. So I've done some further reading on the topic, and it seems the racial discourse surrounding Predator 2 has sort of two sides. The depiction of 90s LA and the depiction of the Predator itself, which sort of just runs through the whole franchise. The movie is set in 1997, however it was written in 1989 and was released in 1990. This is important because that is 2 years before the real-world riots in LA in 1992. The movie's depiction of LA as like a powder keg currently going off in the form of violence involving racially separated street gangs and an extreme police force could be seen as strangely prescient, but could be seen as just playing off the systemic issues that were already there and that led to the riots actually breaking out for real. The problems in real life were so bad that a schlocky action movie basically predicted the future with minimal effort. I think though, the way the violence is portrayed in the movie, be it gang on gang or police on gang, kind of detaches it from reality. It is so extreme that it is almost comical, and obviously an alien showing up kind of helps with that. The LA of Predator 2 kind of feels like the Detroit of RoboCop, a satire as opposed to a sincere commentary. It comes across as like a dystopian parallel universe as opposed to a real statement on the state of LA. Obviously, it still is a real statement on the state of LA and could be seen as an irresponsible thing to portray the way it is portrayed, or even harmful. But there's sort of a jokey air to it. It's a bit like it's saying, look how mad this is. Yeah, things are bad, but they're not this bad. The other issue I mentioned is sort of more with the Predator franchise as a whole. It's how the Predator looks and what it could be seen as an analog for. The Predator has sort of dreadlock-like tentacles on its head. That is no secret, you can use your eyes to see that. I just thought that was a design choice though, and it just happened to look like that. A coincidence. That is not the case. Legendary effects artist Stan Winston designed the Predator, and according to the Stan Winston School of Character Arts website, Predator was inspired by an otherworldly Rastafarian warrior painting. This, I feel, might not have been an issue if the Predator wasn't a savage killing machine. Yes, it's often portrayed as honourable at the end of the day, but it is still a vicious, murderous jungle hunter that is confirmed to have prominent aspects of its design inspired by black culture. Again, while you could make the case for the portrayal of LA in Predator 2 as satirical and not a serious or exploitative representation of the city or the issues therein, this, I feel, is harder to make any case for and maybe changes the way I think about the Predator franchise as a whole. Why did you do this on purpose, Stan? Hello, future Henry. I realised as I was editing, I didn't actually say that while I think this issue tarnishes the franchise as a whole, I don't think this movie individually should be docked points for it. Does that make sense? If the first movie can be 80% on Rotten Tomatoes despite this, I don't see why this one can't be seen as a good movie also despite it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So these two racial issues of the movie are then further complicated by having a black hero who is also a police officer. This certainly adds something to everything going on here. Depth? Intrigue? It's certainly something that was purposeful and gives the movie endless scope to be dissected and discussed from almost any angle. Did they hire Danny Glover to deflect from the racist undertones they knew were in the movie? A sort of I can't be racist, I have black friends type of thing. Did they hire Danny Glover to intentionally add depth and complexity to the tones and themes of their story? Did they hire Danny Glover because he was just the best for the role? I suppose we'll never know, but the fact that a supposedly bad action science fiction movie is making us ask these questions kind of means it does have like a bit about it. There's a lot going on under the surface. It takes away from the overall, there is no doubt, but it adds something too. Maybe not a good thing, but like a thing. Okay, what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that just because everyone says something is bad doesn't mean it is bad. It probably means it is, but collective opinion can be wrong. I personally think it is wrong here with Predator 2. And if you've got a movie that you consider one of your guilty pleasures, maybe have another look at it. You might be doing it a disservice by seeing it as one. There could be a lot more to it than other people give it credit for. It could just be good. Predator 2 is that for me. The racial negatives are there, I cannot deny that. And as someone they don't really affect, my opinion on them is kind of worthless. But them being there has at least educated me, and I can't say that about any other movie I've covered on this channel. Even Cars 2. Hello, thanks a lot for getting to the end of the video. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Next video, the last V for Vendetta one. Back to the fridge after that. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to Pokemon Adventures for the filler, the sort of in-betweeny week videos. Because we only did 3 of them. And I don't like that playlist is so small when there are other books to cover that I physically have. So I think I'll do about 4 more of them. Maybe the end of the gold, silver, crystal. No, there's yellow first, isn't there? Maybe we'll do yellow first. Yes. Yes.